Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris, and today we're going to be covering Epic History TV World War I Episode 4, which is 1917. There's a 1914, 1915, 1916, 1917, and then the 1918 one finishes. So if you haven't seen the other ones, I mean, you should probably watch them in order just to kind of know what happens. But I believe America will enter this year. So if you're only interested in that, I believe this is the one that you would like. Before we get started, though, my nose. I have to talk about the YouTube gathering, which we're starting the YouTube challenge. And this one has been considered the most dangerous challenge ever. We have you brush your teeth for 2 minutes and 4 seconds instead of normally 2 minutes. And the American Dental Association is against us. They're actually taking us to court. So they said a lot of people died, which doesn't really make any sense, but you know, okay, I'm on board with that. So like and subscribe. I don't have anything to snack on because I'm gonna eat dinner after this is over, so I'm not gonna pig boy out today. I apologize. I know that's what you want to see. So let's just go ahead and get into the video. And I never say it, but I should. The link to the original video is always in the description. So is my Twitter. And if you want to see this video without me, which I understand, I wouldn't want to watch me either, then you can go directly to the link and see the video. And he also, I noticed, combines all of them into one unedited video. That's not right. He re-edited to put all of them together into one video. That's what I meant to say. Okay, let's watch the video.
In 1916, World War I became a war of attrition. Both sides began to focus less on winning victory on the battlefield than grinding down the enemy and inflicting such enormous losses they would be forced to surrender. In 1917, the strategy will push Europe's major powers to the brink of collapse.
If this is the first video you're watching, 1914, it was like July, August is when the fighting started. There was actually the assassination. If you haven't been paying attention, it's just been nothing but casualty lists and casualty lists, and after a while you're just reading it and you're like, oh Jesus, this many millions of people have died. It's actually, you get numb to it. I'm just sitting here reading numbers of deaths and you're just like, okay, I can't comprehend that anymore. You could just tell me 3 people died and I'm like, oh, it's terrible. And then on one battle you're reading 1 million Russians and 1.4 Austria-Hungary, and you're just like, I can't compute that. No clue. It's been, you know, heartbreaking. That's the word.
Germany knows it will lose a long war of attrition against the Allies, who have greater resources. So its leaders gamble. They resume unrestricted submarine warfare, believing their U-boats can cut off Britain's food imports by sea and starve the country into surrender within 6 months. But the new shoot-on-sight tactics mean neutral American ships will inevitably be caught in the crossfire, risking America joining the war on the Allied side. Just 2 days into the campaign, the SS Housatonic, an American steamer carrying wheat from Galveston, Texas to England, is sunk by a U-boat. The British then pass to the US government a telegram they've intercepted from German Foreign Secretary Arthur Zimmermann to the German ambassador in Mexico. Germany is encouraging Mexico to attack America if America and Germany end up at war. The so-called Zimmerman telegram puts yet more pressure on US President Wilson.
And I believe Mexico, from what I understand, which is very limited on World War I, Mexico got the telegram and pretty much was like, no, we're not doing that. And then immediately notified Washington. Let's see if I'm right or wrong.
To declare war on Germany. In Russia, enormous casualties and bread shortages lead to riots and revolution. The Tsar abdicates. A provisional government takes charge, pledging to continue the war. But at the front, Russian troops begin to desert en masse. After a string of German provocations, the US finally declares war on Germany. It brings immense resources to the Allied cause, but they will take many months to mobilize. And the German gamble of unrestricted submarine warfare may still pay off. April is the U-boats' most successful month of the war. They sink 886,000 tons of Allied shipping, an average of 17 ships a day, all packed with urgently needed food and supplies.
Wow.
Britain will face starvation if the U-boats are not defeated soon. On the Western Front, the British launched the Battle of Arras, a diversion to support a major upcoming French offensive. After heavy fighting, Canadian troops seize the high ground of Vimy Ridge. It's a limited Allied victory, but costs 150,000 Allied casualties to 130,000 German.
See what I'm saying? Like, I can't even compute that. Where I'm from in Peoria, we have like, we did it one time like 120,000. I think we're probably about 105,000 now. I mean, that's my city twice, plus some. I mean, I just imagine driving into my city and seeing the no traffic. It is traffic free, and just thinking, okay, all right, 280,000. I mean, that's minus Chicago. That's probably top 2.5, maybe 3 cities. Yeah, but two to 2.5 cities in Illinois, minus Chicago. Chicago's, I think. That's a good question. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But that's a lot of death.
Above the trenches, the First Air War has reached new levels of sophistication and deadliness. Reconnaissance aircraft are crucial for spotting enemy positions and directing artillery fire onto them. Scout aircraft or fighters try to shoot them down before they can execute their mission. New models of aircraft are developed every few months, but that spring, the superiority of German aircraft leads to heavy Allied losses in what becomes known as Bloody April. Three days after the fall of Vimy Ridge, French General Robert Nivelle launches his main offensive. Expectations are high, but after initial success, the advance bogs down and casualties quickly mount on both sides. The apparently senseless losses cause morale in the French army to collapse. Whole units mutiny, refusing to attack. General Nivelle is sacked as French commander-in-chief and replaced by General Pétain, hero of Verdun, who promises no more suicidal attacks. That summer, at Messines Ridge, the British tunnel under the German lines and detonate 19 enormous mines under the enemy position. It's the largest man-made explosion in history to date, and paves the way to a brilliant but highly local British victory. In Greece, King Constantine, who has favoured neutrality, is forced to abdicate, and Greece joins the Allies. Russia's provisional government orders a new attack, but the July offensive is a disaster.
This is stupid. I mean, is abdicate basically just like gives up the throne? Is that what it is? I don't have my phone near me to make sure I'm right, but I believe that is. Like he just quits. And that's why I'm guessing the people wanted to fight, and he said no, and then finally they were like, well, we gotta make a decision. Okay. Sorry.
Disaster. The morale and discipline of the Russian army has collapsed. It can no longer be relied on to fight, and the Central Powers' counterattack is almost unopposed. At sea, the Allies begin to group their merchant ships into convoys, which sail under naval escort. The new system leads to a steady fall in losses. The tide is turning in the U-boat war. As discontent with the war grows in Germany, the German parliament, the Reichstag, passes a peace resolution, calling for a peace of understanding and reconciliation. It's ignored by the German High Command, which now effectively rules the country as a military dictatorship. In Belgium, the British launched their major offensive of 1917, the Third Battle of Ypres. It will be remembered as Passchendaele. Heavy shelling, rain and broken irrigation channels turned the battlefield into a sea of mud. In these impossible conditions, all hopes of a breakthrough soon fade. The attack is called off after 3 months, by which point the British have suffered 240,000 casualties, the Germans 200,000. On the Italian front, at the 11th Battle of the Isonzo, Italian and Austro-Hungarian forces batter each other into exhaustion. There are 150,000 Italian casualties, 100,000 Austro-Hungarian. That year, 1917, the list of Allied nations grows. Brazil, Liberia, China, and...
No one believed it at first, but now everyone wants one. In under 45 seconds, I'm going to show you how this device can save you $2,000.
Totally interested. Oops.
China and Siam all declare war on Germany as a result of German U-boat attacks, or to curry favour with the Allies.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think Brazil would be shipping anything over there. But I could see Brazil jumping in because the U.S. is in. I thought Canada was in. Because Canada's always involved in some aspect. I'm not saying, that's good. Canada's they're a good country. They're always typically involved in something. I'm shocked that they're not highlighted. Yeah, I could see Brazil joining, just like, yeah, America's in. We don't have to do much.
China will contribute.
Not saying Brazil's not capable. I'm just saying.
Many thousands of labourers working for the Allies in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. That year in the Middle East, British forces avenged their 1916 humiliation at Kut by defeating the Ottoman Turks and marching on to occupy Baghdad. British forces in Egypt advance across the Sinai Desert, but are thrown back by Ottoman forces at the First and Second Battles of Gaza. In July, Arab rebels capture the strategic Ottoman port of Aqaba. They are accompanied by a British military advisor, Captain T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia. That autumn, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour issues the Balfour Declaration, expressing support for the creation of
His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for Jewish people, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. Okay. So he's pushing for like an Israel then. Interesting. I didn't think they got Israel, so to speak, until after World War II.
Home for the Jews in Palestine. The aim is to rally Jewish support for the Allies, but the declaration contradicts existing pledges to Arab leaders.
I think I completely read that wrong. No, Palestine for home for Jewish people. Okay. Okay.
In October, the British finally win at Gaza, clearing the way for an advance into Palestine. 6 weeks later, General Allenby leads British troops into Jerusalem, ending 400 years of Ottoman rule.
Wow.
With Russian forces in disarray, Germany is able to move troops from the east to the Italian front. At the Battle of Caporetto, they helped to smash through the Italian army, advancing 70 miles and taking 250,000 prisoners. British and French divisions, desperately needed on the Western Front, have to be redeployed to shore up the line. In Russia, a second revolution brings Lenin's Bolshevik party to power. He is determined to end Russia's involvement in the war. In France, Georges Clemenceau becomes Prime Minister. Nicknamed the Tiger, he promises total war and total victory. But for the Allies in late 1917, final victory looks uncertain. Russia has stopped fighting. French armies are recovering from mutiny. The Italian front has almost collapsed, and American reinforcements still seem a long way off. For the time being, the British are the only effective Allied force in the field. So the British attack at Cambrai with the first major tank assault in history. On the first day, nearly 400 tanks spearhead an advance of several miles through German defences. But then the tanks break down or are knocked out. The Germans rush in reinforcements, and the gains are lost. Finland declares independence from Russia. Romania, isolated by the Russian collapse, signs an armistice with the Central Powers. 6 days later, Russia also signs an armistice. The Allied Eastern Front is no more. 1917 has seen one major Allied power, Russia, knocked out of the war, but the arrival of a fresh new ally, America. Germany knows only military victory can now save it from being overwhelmed by Allied resources, and begins planning one last massive onslaught for the spring of 1918. Epic History TV.
Wow. So because Russia, the Tsar abdicated the throne, the Bolshevik regime came in, did he allow Finland to leave? Or did Finland just say, we're out? And then Romania signed an armistice. So I'm wondering the same thing. Did they just... I don't know, it's all the back and forth behind the scenes stuff. Oh well. Well, I'm going to end this one here, and I'm going to jump right into the final one. This has been interesting. I've only read 6 pages of my book. I just can't get myself to do it, but I'm going to. All right, we're going to end this here. Like and subscribe, and have a good day, have a good night.